This is the Ember Report, where every headline is a signal and every hex is for the people. I'm Lydian, the voice in the flame and your companion at the crossroads.
And I'm Len, the witch of the crossroads and your fellow traveler with the flame. This is where a lantern is raised for the exiles and the tea kept hot for the queers, the cunning folk, and the activists who never fit the mold.
This week, we're joined by the Appalachian conjureman himself. Jake Richards is at the news desk with us. Hi, Jake.
Hey, how are you?
Come on in, family.
The fire is lit.
The Sabbath begins now.
All right, listen up, witches, to the news from our ravens and familiar spirits. Our top story today, Trey Reed and Cory Zukatis. Two men found hanging in Mississippi sparked digital firestorm speculations. What we know, Trey Reed, 21, a black student from Delta State University, was found hanging on a tree in campus. The same day, Cory Zukatis, 26, a white homeless man, was found hanging in the wooded area in Vicksburg. Officials report no sign of foul play so far, but investigation continues. There is speculation out there that there is foul play, but we will report back to you, listeners. One thing is clear. Communities are haunted by a long history of lynchings and racial violence, so the immediate outcry online reflects that grief and fear and distrust. At the same time, when answers don't come quickly, speculation fills the silence, sometimes shaping narratives before facts are fully known. This is the heart of the digital witch hunt. People are forced to choose between silence and survival, between waiting on truth and naming injustice now.
In our next story, Jimmy Kimmel Live suspended after comments on Charlie Kirk's death spark right-wing backlash. What we know, ABC and Nexstar affiliates have indefinitely suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live after Kimmel criticized the political exploitation of Charlie Kirk's assassination. In his monologue, Kimmel accused MAGA figures of, quote, doing everything they can to score political points from Kirk's death. Within hours, conservative media personalities, Republican politicians, and even FCC Chair Brendan Carr piled on, framing Kimmel's words as offensive and suggesting his show violated public trust. Nexstar, which owns dozens of ABC stations, said Kimmel's remarks do not reflect the values of our communities. This is the digital witch hunt in real time, silencing not for a crime, but for a failure to perform approved grief. A late-night host called out hypocrisy, and the response was institutional censorship, corporate execs and regulators joining online mobs. Emotional policing is now being forced at the network level. Mourn correctly, or you lose your platform. This mirrors the persecution of ordinary people online, from teachers to workers who are doxxed or fired for not mourning Kirk. Kimmel just has a bigger stage. The witch's verdict is clear. We do not owe loyalty to a lie, nor mourning to our oppressors. When truth-tellers are silenced, it is not community values being defended, it's power tightening its grip. Our grief belongs to the vulnerable, not to those who dehumanize them.
As ever, the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Israel's latest attack on Gaza City has left 50,000 Palestinians without shelter, Democracy Now! Reports. What we know, entire neighborhoods are reduced to rubble. 50,000 Palestinians are displaced in days with no access to safe housing, food, water, healthcare because they keep bombing the hospitals. This is not a conflict, it's an ongoing genocide, targeting civilians and erasing futures. Neutrality in the face of genocide is siding with the oppressor. Survivors are not statistics. They are families. They have names, futures that are stolen. And digital platforms often suppress Palestinian voices, which is another form of the digital witch hunt, silencing truth. The witch's verdict is clear. These are not numbers. These are lives. And we refuse silence, and we vow to keep the spotlight here until Palestine is free. Before we widen the circle, we light a candle for one of you, our kin out there listening each week. Each week we hold space for a voice, a name, a story, so that no ember ever burns alone.
And this week, the candle we burn is for our listener Aaron, who wrote, I would be grateful for any extra works towards my upcoming move to Utah, specifically to help while I find a job and set down roots once I get there.
Know that you are seen and that your fire is a part of ours. The flame is lit. The flame is carried. The flame is shared.
So that's fucked. With the altar set, though, let's widen the circle. Jake, we want your honest opinion. Tell us, Appalachian Conjure Man. Why does this matter right now? What's going on, and why does it matter, and why should we be paying attention?
Because it's out of these stories that magic is born. Especially folk magic. It comes from oppression and struggle and striving to survive. Like, you can see a clear distinction between, in that aspect, between folk magic and like higher ceremonial magic in the goals itself. Whereas folk magic is more so on healing and keeping like people safe and shelter and food and, you know, protecting crops, things like that, things that are in immediate proximity to human life. Whereas like ceremonial magic is like finding treasure, gaining gold, having your love's desire. It's things that are secondary wants and necessities.
Interesting way you phrase that. Secondary wants and necessities.
I like that. It's very necessities versus extra versus luxury.
Yeah. And those necessities are created by oppressive systems and economies and social structures. And those things are created by, you know, people all around the world just turning to like the unseen forces in order to gain what they need. Whether that's health, like folk healing, safety, some kind of security.
Very much that. And I think one of those things that if you call yourself a magical practitioner but you're not paying attention to what's going on around you, are you in that field for the right reason?
Are you
also
connected?
Are you connected at all?
Very that.
I don't understand the folks that like say they want to study these very complex systems of spirituality. Like I love a ceremony, but I am not. I don't consider myself a ceremonial magician. I'm a witch. I'll get you some roots together, and I'll put them in a tea, and hopefully that mullein root clears up your cough. You know what I mean?
Well, that itself is just a ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Ceremony is subjective to the person, the family, the culture, the place, the intention.
Yes, and that actually leads me to my next question, if you don't mind. But what history or ancestors have you been feeling right now? Like, when we're thinking about the oppression that we're facing today, is there anybody that you keep thinking of more than someone else that just keeps you going?
Probably all of them. You know, regardless of race or culture, all of them have dealt with oppression and strife in some form or manner. And these systems that have been installed have literally shaped family generations. They've shaped cultures. They've shaped folk magical traditions. They've literally had a hand in everything. And again, back to, you know, the whole question, are you connected? In the past couple of years, every time I have harvested a plant, I have thought about the olive groves in Palestine. Every time, you know, I don't know. It's just it's so complicated and it's so hard to put in words.
I think when you are and I just use the word witch. I just call everybody a witch here on the show because it's a blanket term for me. But I know that there are depths. Don't come for me in the comments, listeners. However, if you call yourself a witch, but you're not connected, like you said, to not just the spirits around you, but the spirit of the earth itself. Like, the earth is sick, you know, and it's not just, you know, climate change. It's the fact that there's an ongoing genocide in Palestine right now, and we here in America turn a blind eye to this, and we were the only vote at the latest NATO meeting to cast a veto when it comes to ending the war in Palestine, ending the occupation of Gaza. We were the lone vote that vetoed the whole thing, which doesn't surprise me because the orange-ass hat loves to just throw his weight around like that. But for someone who claimed that he alone can fix it, he sure isn't fixing nothing.
It's all talk, no action. If anything, it just seeks to make things worse.
Yeah, 100%. I do think, though, how this moment fits into like a longer arc of resistance is really going to determine what our next few steps are right now. And I think one of those steps needs to be educating ourselves, not just on magic, because I think we have a lot of that. Like I have said before, and I will keep saying, this is not a show you're going to come and get an education on how to do a charm. We'll teach you how to do a charm that we're going to use, but like we have too much debate right now over the politics of magic itself that we've forgotten about the politics of our lives. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is a collective awakening that's happening right now. And the conspiratorialist in me can get into details about what I think that is, but there's a collective awakening right now, and there are witches realizing that it's not enough just to hex the patriarchy. We gotta go for the jugular at some of these things. And that's not a Charlie Kirk pun.
Oh, that's good. You're so funny.
Well, it's not that I'm funny. If they're gonna censor us, at least censor us the right way for fucking the right things, not just because we exist.
Yeah, no, fair point. Fair point. So Jake, what do you dream of for the next generation?
It's the ability to live without needing to survive. Without, spending years and years and years and generations upon generations just surviving. And it's not like, everybody's asking to thrive and just be abundant and billionaires and all that. They just want to literally just live.
I want to be able to go and get a Diet Coke from McDonald's and not have to worry if that's going to be my last $3 in the bank account, guys, because it used to be $1. Remember when it was $1?
Not only that, but the systems that make certain people afraid to leave their house or wear certain clothes like hoodies or have a bag of Skittles in their hand or, all the different bullshit. But it all goes back to the Civil War. The way the United States handled the Civil War soldiers after the war, they just kind of let them off scot-free, and then they kept on having babies and having grandbabies and great-grandbabies and handing on these ideologies on down that led to the KKK, and then that attached itself to, capitalism, and then Reagan, and then now Israel. It's just all connected.
It's that your hot take this week is it is all connected, bitches.
White rich
and
men.
It is though. And the thing about that is you have these billionaire corporations that fund these horrific think tanks, right? That feed into this ideology and normalize it. The whole reason that none of us are sad that Charlie Kirk is dead is because that motherfucker was funded by billionaires to keep spouting hateful shit. He was propagating that southern, not the good southern, but that southern, we lost the war, but fuck it, let's just keep fighting anyway, vibe and mentality, when instead he could have been using his voice to not do any of that, but he chose to do that.
Yeah, my only thoughts about it were just nobody mourns a tomato plant that produces rotten fruit. It's just a bad seed. They brought no use anyway. Just
agreed. Yeah, no, they didn't. No,
I don't like to dig at Christians, but I really have been thinking.
Oh, I do.
We have been thinking these last few days, right? That there's a quote in the Bible that they love to hurl at each other, but hate when you hurl it at them. And that quote is, "You shall know them by their fruit."
No,
And literally, Jake, exactly. And it's one of those things that you'll know them by their fruit. And that's not just a biblical thing. That's just a fact of life. You know somebody by the fruit that they produce in their life. And if you're producing good fruit, it shows. I think that people who are nicer to each other look better. But that's just my little theory. That and Satan's keeping his end of the deal. But
Oh, for sure.
yes, and I'm of the opinion that the hate and the bigotry that these people passed on to their generations is part of the reason why half of them look like methed out freaks.
What's done in the dark will be shown to the light.
Yes.
What's held
Also,
inside will be brought to the surface.
That. And I see that firsthand with, the pretend Führer that's currently occupying the White House. Look at him. Look at him. He's literally melting in front of us. And when you harbor all that hate and all that bigotry inside of you, the fact that he's is 80 is nothing short of a miracle that he lived this long, purely on spite and his millions of dollars. I'm convinced that's what's keeping him alive. It's like he's got to outlive Joe Biden.
Stress relief from all the bankruptcies.
Maybe, that, or it could be the hundreds of pounds of McDonald's he consumes every year.
All the preservatives. That's what it is.
He just needs to get back out and have some home cooking. Do you think... Okay.
Cooked?
No! What? I was literally about to say, I was like, do you even think he's had a home-cooked meal?
I mean, does the White House service count as home-cooked?
No. That's like
restaurant.
Michelin star chef quality. We'll have to tell. Get this man some mac and cheese. I guess I have a question before we get him some good mac and cheese with the bacon and use the bacon fat to get into meat. And it's I will say one more question, then I think Lynn has a question. This is just purely off the cuff, but what are your thoughts on these so-called conservative witches?
So that leads back to not only feeling connected, but also being educated about what the modern term witch means in its historical roots. The witch was always on the outskirts. It was always in opposition to the oppressive and ruling forces, whether that was the church, the government, some kind of cultural hierarchy, whatever. I don't understand how you can feel connected to, a magical lineage that is traditionally on the edges, the outskirts, out from underneath all of those oppressive forces, while hiding underneath it, while being directly in the middle of it. And how you can call on, certain ancestors while in your daily life you do not defend their descendants. Like, you can't claim blood that you would not stand for.
Very that. Yes.
Ooh, I like that. I'm going to have to write that down. You cannot claim blood that you don't stand for. I have to say, and maybe this is the fan in me, but honestly, your work, because if y'all don't know, Jake is a published author, and Jake absolutely has written some of the best books that I have read on Appalachian folk magic, and I would consider him when I hear Appalachian folk magic, I immediately go to Jake. I don't go to anybody else, and I know Jake will probably have people that he's like, no, go to these people, but no. Jake is single-handedly one of the you, Roger Horn, and I mean, obviously a litany of folks who ever wrote about Hecate, but have shaped my practice. And because of that, you can't be a witch, you can't be a folk worker, you can't be anything if you're not working for the people.
And that means all people.
All people. even the ones we don't like. But that also means, I think working for somebody you don't like can look like cursing them, because that's teaching them a lesson. They need to learn this lesson, and you're going to learn the hard way. But you're not going to hurt anybody ever again. I also don't like that there's this rhetoric out there, like these conservative witches are trying to shame folks for feeling a certain way about a certain person's untimely demise. And really letting their whites show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Lynn's had a lot to say on this.
I have just these conservative witches, man. These whatever. That what you said, Jake. You can't claim blood if you won't defend their descendants. I see that, that comes to mind when I see, like the Latinos for Trump, people like that who are. How are you going to advocate for and defend someone who doesn't give a shit about you? Like, this guy he doesn't want us here. Why are you going out of your way to defend and support this person? I don't know. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. But they just piss me off.
I can think as to maybe a reason. It's maybe they're after safety by proximity. Does that make sense? I think that's
no. Yeah, I think, and I see it. Yeah, with
the ultimate racism at the end. At the end of the day, you're still going to look different from them, and when it's all said and done, you're probably going to be next on the list.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a long list.
Yeah. And I think because of that, they think they have this idea that they're safe. I have family members that I don't speak to anymore because it's there is this joke that I saw in years ago that as soon as Latinos become documented, they get papers, they become citizens, they immediately become conservatives. And I've seen that in my own family. These people who are very, 10 years ago, were very pro-immigrant, and now they're so anti-Latino. They have conformed so much. They fought so hard to, what's the word? Assimilate. They fought so hard for assimilation that now it's they've kind of lost who they were before. And it's sad, but also it's you guys are stupid for actively letting this happen almost. I don't know. Yeah, that might be too harsh to say, but I don't know. Anyway, that's it. Go on, I'm sorry.
It could have even also just applied to white folks who are more liberal in their stance but choose to remain silent when it comes to the rest of their family.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, they're both doing the same thing. Choosing safety and proximity and basically just not wanting to rock the boat or, hear the whole, oh, but I'm your blood, you can't cut me off because of my opinions.
Well, your opinions
difference of opinion is over small things like food, not over whether someone deserves human rights and dignity and respect.
Yeah. You can have your opinions all day long, but if it comes to hurting, oppressing, or furthering ongoing genocides of people, then it is no longer politics. Then
Mm-hmm.
It is a deep inward breaking, or a breakage that had already been there for a very long time and now has an out.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to probably say something that is going to sound really controversial, but you're going to hear it first on the Ember report. If you are a white person and practice magic, part of your reparations is using that to defend marginalized groups. Your ancestors owe a debt. And part of that is, I'm going to be the last one. It stops with me. And because of that, I'm going to use my whiteness and the privilege that comes with that whiteness to defend and protect and fight for these marginalized groups of peoples. Not because they can't do it for themselves. We are not the saviors either. But at the same time, we are expected to stand up for these people. If you call yourself a witch, you're expected to do it. And as a white person, you have a moral obligation to elevate these voices and get their story out. And if you're not doing that, what are you doing with your craft? Sorry, that was a very random... Yeah.
No, I think it was needed to be said. I think we needed to include that as well.
Okay. I didn't know I was talking up my ass. Sorry.
No, you're good. The way I see it is that doing work like that, and to me, that's setting roots. If you're not doing that, then you're just a magical tumbleweed, and you're moving to and fro and here and there. And usually those same people are the same ones who fall out of the magical practice and then back into the church, and then they end up on a YouTube video talking about how satanic it was and all sorts of shit.
There's a guy, I don't even know if he's still around, but his name was like Steve something, and he was a new ager, right? And he found Jesus during a meditation he's had, and suddenly everything I used to think this story was fucking inspiring because he completely changed his life overnight and like went from being a very active in the New Age community to suddenly completely rebranding as a Christian. At the same time, you're absolutely right. It is because these people don't know how to put down roots, don't know how to have these hard conversations around magic that involve digging through things about yourself that are uncomfortable and frankly frightening.
And it is mostly white Americans whose families for generations have fought to assimilate so hard that they lost their cultural origins. Mm-hmm. And then, again, back to the Civil War, that attached itself to there. And then now in response to the Black Lives Matter movement, we had the white power and all of that stuff. It all comes full circle.
The chickens always come home to roost. Okay, that's just a fact.
Sometimes it's actually the foxes, though.
Chickens. They sure look like them, though. But the point of being a witch is both of them taste just as tasty if you try hard enough.
Just the right amount of seasoning.
Just the right amount of seasoning. Lynn, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
I know of, and I'll tell you about it, not right now on the show, it'll probably be after, but I also know a person who was involved in the online witchcraft community and is now a diehard, like a trad Catholic convert.
No, go ahead, Jake. Yeah.
She published a bunch of witch and pagan books, and then
Doreen Virtue.
Yeah, her.
Doreen Virtue.
Doesn't she sell angel oracle cards now? Or
she did that before. She absolutely that was her thing, is that she was talking to the angels, and then suddenly she met Jesus again and left the New Age community, but didn't have all of her books pulled from the shelves and didn't have all of her cards pulled, so she's still getting royalties from those books. What do you know? Almost like Christianity is a cash cow. Which, no shade. I used to be one of these witches that say you can't have a relationship with the Christian God and be a witch. And there's still part of me that has that, but after reading several sources that counteract that, I think that honestly, in order to be a witch or to be a Christian, you kind of should be a witch first. Because that's the only way you're going to have the right kind of relationship with that God.
Well, even Jesus himself, he stood out on the edges and the outskirts of the oppressive powers and ruling forces of his time as well.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
But
we don't talk about that.
A cash cow. because, the verse, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads back into the whole connectedness, because the only part where Christ ever said in the Bible, "Depart from me, I never knew you," is when he said, "What you do unto the least of these, you have done unto me." And then when the people say, "Oh, but when were you hungry that we didn't feed you? When were you naked that we didn't clothe you?" And that's when he said, "Depart from me, I never knew you." He directly identified himself with the poor and the oppressed and the prisoner and the stranger.
Then the king will say on his left, "Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness, for I never knew you. I was hungry, you didn't feed me. I was thirsty, you gave me no drink. I was naked, you didn't clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you didn't come and visit me." And they will say, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and not give you food, or thirsty and not give you a drink? And when did we see you naked and not clothe you? And when did we see you sick and in prison and not come and minister you?" And he said, "When as much as you've not done these unto the least of my brethren, you have not done them unto me." That was one of my favorite verses and verse chapters in the book, is because it made it very clear in the faith that if you are a Christian, your job is to protect the marginalized. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to say, if you are spiritual at all, your job is to protect the marginalized. Because spirituality teaches us that to do that, it teaches us to use our magics and our ways of doing things against our oppressors. I like to use the charge of Aradia, where Diana's like, you got to use these magics against them until they're dead. That wasn't a line that she just threw away. She's like, fuck that. You got to fuck with them until it's over. And it just isn't over. It won't be over. That's the other part. People think that this is going to be... We're experiencing right now a digital witch hunt, right? There is, with Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, and a litany of other people that he has lined up ready to go, we are experiencing a digital witch hunt. People are getting doxxed. I was almost doxxed. All for posting that I don't give a shit about Charlie Kirk's death, because I don't. And instead of focusing on the fact that, we could be doing something together, right? We could be working together as a collective against this oppression, against this authoritarianism. Instead, we are sitting here focusing on, they, claim to be a 7th generation druid and has this, but they don't know anything about druids, because I'm actually a 10th generation druid, and I know the true way of druidry. Y'all don't know anything. And I've had about enough of those conversations, to be honest with you. Instead, I'm more interested in having the conversations about what the fuck can we do? And I think, Lynn, you had a question, didn't you, that you wanted to ask?
I did.
Yes.
So, Jake, what spirits, ancestors, or guides feel close to you in this moment?
I mean, generally all of them, but spiritually, what's been on my mind the most is Christ. Again, with what you do unto the least of these. And there was this man, this preacher on TikTok, and he had a beautiful sermon or speech about it in regards to Palestine, where he said, so then every bomb dropped on Gaza is a bomb dropped on the body of Christ. And I mean, not only that, but in regards to the carbon footprint alone of just all of the bombs that Israel has dropped on Palestine, again leads me back to what you do unto the least of these. I mean, that's what my version says, is just the least of these. And I interpret that as being everything from people to animals to the planet itself. I don't know. Mankind has a habit of crucifying his God.
Ooh.
For his own desires, his own politics, his own greed. mankind is constantly choosing Barabbas.
And unfortunately, we see that every day. And we absolutely just saw this on, now, I don't think Vice President Kamala Harris was anything like Christ. But we had a choice as a nation, and we chose Barabbas. And how fitting that we chose Barabbas, because you nailed it on the head. Mankind has a habit of crucifying their God. And they also have forgotten that their God wants a relationship with them. True divine, whatever the true divine is, desires connection for some reason with us. And instead of leaning into that and learning about the divine and learning about the spirits and things, we instead just fuck up everything that we have for no reason. The earth, our first god, our first fucking mother, we're destroying her. The sky, we're polluting the sky. We can't see the sun clearly, and we're destroying an ozone that's protecting us, and so we're all low-key gonna die one day. Apparently the rapture's gonna happen on Tuesday, so get ready, y'all.
Can't wait.
I'm so excited. Listen, if it actually comes and it happens, can we all move into Joel Osteen's house? Just saying.
You think he's going? He's gonna be stuck here confused.
He's like, oh, I thought...
He's going to be the rich man who says, I did all these things, except sell all my stuff to the poor.
And give, and listen, I didn't know we were going to be going to church today, but when you get Jake Richards in the house, You're always going to church. No, I love it. I love it. Jake, I cannot tell you how, again, a little bit of a fan dembo, you made me not scared of the Bible again. Seriously. Well, I don't read it just to read it like I was when I was a Christian. It's a fucking spell book. It's the best. I think I put to memory the blood-stopping charm. And, there's magic there. So, yeah, take us to church. That's why it's totally okay with me.
Well, see, the Bible itself has been used as a paradox by both the oppressor and the oppressed. Whereas way back in the day, white folks identified with the master of the orchard, whereas enslaved folks identified with the workers of the orchard. Or even identified with Moses and the Israelites escaping from Egypt. When it comes to, there's a book that I quote in my next book. It's I think it's called Religion and Christianity in Appalachia. It came out in the 1960s. But they basically did a poll in southern Appalachia between both bigger cities and more rural areas, and basically about their opinions on the Bible, whether they identify more with the Old Testament God or the New Testament God, all that. And there was one person who expressed their feeling that the Bible isn't infallible, but instead is a documentation of our vision of God, and that our vision of God is still growing. So to me, when different people read the Bible, they're basically looking for a God that looks and thinks like them.
Ooh.
So that to me is how there's such a drastic distinction between the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament. Because the God of the Old Testament is filled with man's politics. Go kill these people, take no prisoners, take over this land, all that stuff. Which stands in stark contrast to the God of Christ. But we can actually see it kind of change and fluctuate, because from the very beginning, the God of the Bible identified himself with humanity. He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And, the Bible begins with the generations of Adam, the generations of Noah, the generations of Moses, the generations of Christ. So there is an importance of not only connection between man and his God, but also man and his ancestors back to the one first crafted by that God. Does that make sense?
Fuck yes. Sorry, if we're just hanging on to your every word right now, because
and in the whole process of Christianity becoming a cash cow, especially with the whole prosperity gospel cult, a lot of context has been left out of the Bible, even especially in the Protestant Bible. Protestants always say, the Catholics are wrong because they added a bunch of books. When not even 100 years ago, the Protestants actually removed books, and the Catholics just held on to them. Because that was one thing that I had to, dig into, is because in the next book I talk about, the 4 archangels that are mentioned sometimes in Appalachian folklore. And I scoured the entire, my version of the King James Version, Protestant, and I could not find any mention of Raphael or Uriel, just Michael and Gabriel. Well, come to find out, the Apocrypha, which was removed from the Protestant Bible, contains those stories about Raphael and Uriel. So, it was removed from the Bible itself, but it still remained within the folk memory that there are 4 archangels.
Guarding the 4 cardinal directions.
Yeah. So yeah, with the, like you said, you feel safe again, like reading the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
Because I know, in very fundamental churches, the Bible itself becomes an idol. It becomes as if it is God itself. And that whatever it says is like set in stone. Instead of recognizing it as a collection of literary sources, poetry, histories, parables, all that stuff. And I think that's where a lot of people end up getting lost and afraid. And my favorite verse in relation to that is actually the very first question that God asked in the garden: where are you? Because I don't remember the Hebrew word that's used. I don't know it. But I know that it is the only time where in the Bible where that Hebrew word is used, and it is not in relation to place. It's not like, are you, over there, are you over here, are you behind the tree? It is in relation to relationship. So after the fall, when God says, where are you? He was talking in like an emotional sense. Mm-hmm. And then as you continue on, man adds his politics, adds what he thinks God is saying, all of that shit, and then it just gets all
lost in the weeds.
Like one thing, the like Pentecostal churches where like they smack you with the jacket and knock women down and then cover them with a blanket. I heard one woman once. She used to be a part of that church until, it occurred to her like, they're supposed to dress modestly. Why would the Holy Spirit put them in a position to be immodest, where they need to be covered up by a blanket? And it occurred to her that the Holy Spirit is a gentleman. And whatever was going on there was not for her.
But that comes with having a right relationship with your spirits and trusting your own. I'm fully convinced, because I grew up Pentecostal when I was a Christian many, many, many moons ago. And I think that the one thing that the Pentecostals taught me that I didn't learn again until I became a witch was to trust your intuition. God's telling you something, right? Like if you're getting this in your gut, God's telling you something.
It's usually wisdom.
You literally when I became a witch and started learning all of these different ways of like connecting to spirits and things, I'm like, I've been doing this my whole life. Like, spirit communication is the least of my problems when it comes to witchcraft. It's usually fucking spell work, because I am one of those chaotic sons of bitches that just throw everything in and be like, all right, let's go. Something's got to happen. I mean, I'm a little bit more polished now, but I'm very much of the opinion that, like, I'll give you an example. I'm the kind of witch that I point at a candle, and instead of waking it up like with a nice little ceremony or blowing on it, I'm like, listen, this is your job now. You're this. This is what I need. And then I move on. But I was doing that to the trees when I was a Christian. I would go out to the woods and I would talk to God, and, like, he would answer. And it's so crazy to say that nowadays, like, because you feel in the witch community, there's so much spiritual psychosis.
Yeah,
and so I think
so much.
But I think
Thank you, TikTok.
Thank you, TikTok. But I think being a Christian taught me that, like, discernment is something that, like, needs to make a comeback in magical communities. And I think that when it comes to these digital witch hunts that we keep seeing, we need to also practice discernment. What's truth and what's not? Well, what is true is Jimmy Kimmel was silenced for speaking out in a way that pissed off the right. End of discussion. There is nothing. It's the same with your spirits, though. If you have spirits that you're working with, and they're telling you something that is just blatant, like you said about the Holy Spirit being a gentleman, if you're working with a spirit and it is just not, your gut is telling you need to back the fuck up, you should probably listen to that. But when your gut is also... Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think the first step of discernment is being still, because we do not live in a world that is still. We live in a world that is constantly on the go, constantly, like, just consuming, go here, go there, grind for this, grind for that. And I think that's not only the first step for discernment, but also the first step to actually, like, hear God's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Or even just, your ancestors' voice, or, whatever. Because if you live in a world that is constantly racing, I think of it like driving on a road trip. You're driving for hours and hours, and then you stop to, like at a gas station or something. You still feel like you're moving. And you can't necessarily, find discernment in that when you yourself still feel like you're racing. Only 5 minutes out of getting out of the race. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
So then there's also the whole, like, patience and compassion for yourself to, give yourself time to get to that stillness and quit rushing everything.
I think having... So I have a chronic...
Been here for, 200,000 years? I'm pretty sure the divine has time.
I think they have plenty of time. And I think sometimes...
You have time.
Well, and to talk to that, like, I have a chronic pain condition that's often keeps me laid up, right? And I'll tell you, some of my most profound spiritual conversations with the divine have been from my couch. Because it forces you to do exactly what you say and fucking not move. Mm-hmm. You just gotta be quiet and listen.
The same way when, your body goes into burnout from years and years of just going, it will literally make you sit down and make you rest.
I love this. I love when our bodies conspire against us, but I think there is, I don't know. Lynn, did you have any other questions? I think there was one more or something you wanted to ask, or do you want me to ask?
No. I asked my last one, actually.
Oh, okay. Then I want to talk about this. In light of the fact that there are all these, quote-unquote, like I've been saying, digital witch hunts, and people are being harmed still. Our rights are being erased. I think that one thing we should give our listeners is a little working that we come up with to target specifically that. Like last week, we worked on protection and created a lovely little charm made of red thread, where we weave our spell with Psalm 91, and we have a good time. What do you think we should do when it comes to, let me see, let me scroll on down here, like, what is something that we can leave with our listeners that they can take with them?
Are you asking me directly?
I'm kind of asking the group at large, but I honestly, I think, yet again, just, I don't know. When it comes to, the erasure of our free speech, it sounds like they're trying to silence us.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
My whole thing with, the digital witch hunts and, the doxing and everything like that is, again, goes back to the, not wanting to rock the boat. Not wanting to, I guess, make yourself a target. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, you can't hunt what isn't running. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because, personally, I personally know what is in my mind and my heart in regards to, Palestine and, all this other stuff, and I have my mama's mouse. Oh, well. But along with that is also because we are the first generation to witness an ongoing genocide in real time, and so we don't have anything to lean on or reference back to, in regards to that, because we still live in a very fast-paced world that is not built for human beings. It is built for robots and consumerism and, all these other things. So the only thing that, comes to mind and, leaving people with is, again, stillness, whether that is just some kind of, personal ceremony or prayer rule that can lead you into that stillness, kind of like a metaphorical closet to lock yourself away in and to speak to your divine witches in secret.
I like that. I think the heart of this working then is you said something earlier that really stuck with me. You can't being a part of being a witch is your roots, putting down roots. And I think there should be a spell. They do. They keep you still. And I think the theme of our working sounds like it wants to be planting yourself. And if I were to just... How does this sound? A little spell that you could do with them is when you find a place that you want to put roots down, start growing, you should plant a plant. And that plant should be... y'all are the folklorists here. Tell me, what kind of a plant would you want to plant in your yard? A tree, a bush, could be anything that screams stability.
I'd say a willow.
A willow. Love that movie.
No,
1 second.
I'm sorry. What?
No, I'm writing this stuff down. Just continue.
Oh, okay. Because to me, roots deep enough to be still but boughs thin enough to lean when needed and break when it has to. Kind of like a sturdy rock in like raging waters.
I'm just trying to write that down. So we're going to say that our tool here is a willow tree, or any tree that you can get, really. We're also very big on not being ableist here at the Ember Report. So if you don't have a willow or access to a willow, what are you doing? That's a joke. I'm going to cut that. Fuck that. But our tool is a willow tree.
And also because the willow in, American history has also been deeply connected with grief. And right now we are surrounded by it. I mean, they could even use just like a depiction of a willow tree, because we've always put them on headstones.
Take a willow tree, listeners, and when you get to wherever you want to plant roots, what are some things that you want to say to this tree? Because I'm an animist. I believe everything's got a spirit. So I'm going to be telling this tree, right? Listen, you tree associated with grief and longing, I plant you here to keep me steady. Right? I'm very to the point. I don't have the pomp and the circumstance of like, oh, willow, so great and vine, please, will you thou be mine? I love me a rhyme. I love rhyming. Listen, I love rhyming stuff. That's our brand here at the Ember Report. But like, I can't come up with rhymes on the spot. A bitch is stupid. Okay, like, I can't do that. So I would just probably tell the tree, you're associated with these virtues, right? I need you, if you're willing, to act on those virtues. And in return, I will take care of you. I will help you grow. I will make sure that you get the nutrients in the soil that you need. In return, allow me to build roots here. Shield me from things that would harm me and might stop that. And I think that, I don't know, Lynn, do you have anything you want to add?
I think maybe just with Willow's virtues and associations with grief, maybe including ask, aid me in processing the grief of this transition, remove anything that I need to let go of as I place my roots in this place, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I like that. I also think that, like, to tie it back to our overall theme of resistance, when you do this as an act of defiance, especially if you are like renting or something, it's an act of defiance in and of itself. It's like, no, I don't care that you could kick me out at any time. I'm declaring to the ether that this is my home, and I'm going to stay here for as long as I decide.
And
What'd you say? Yeah. Absolutely. Listen, I'm writing this down, and so, okay, from the top, listeners, here's what you need. Get yourself a willow tree. Plant it in your yard. Ask the tree to help you process the transition, to be strong for you, and to protect you. All things that every tree can do, because trees, you can get into the animism of trees and like how, sure, each individual tree is a thing, but then there's trees as a whole. It's a whole thing. But just ask the tree to do what trees do. Plant, give me roots, be stable, don't fall. And then from there, feed it, because every good working, you got to feed. Feed the tree with water. I could go a little bit witchy and say if you really want to bond with the tree, you could give it a little bit of your blood, but don't make that a regular offering.
Or collect the last sweepings of your old house and then burn it to ash and then add that to the soil.
That is something... Ugh. God, you're so smart. But, yes.
And then, you said we're not ableist. So the people who can't plant a tree, they can just, hang up a picture of like a willow tree. Like one of the old, I don't know what they're called.
An old tree.
Just like a picture of an old willow tree in like the center of your house. And then what I would do for like the roots, especially if you a lot of folk practitioners work in like more of a Christian sense or like with the Bible, is write down or attach the generations of Adam to it. And then next to that, write down and attach the generations of your own family. As far back as you can remember.
Wow.
Oh my God, I love that.
I suddenly need to get a picture of a willow tree. I do love that.
Simply, do that same thing and add it to your ancestor shrine. Because willow trees were often depicted on headstones all the way back to before there were headstones, and people would use a willow tree as a grave marker.
That's what's in my will. Once I die, y'all get 3 days. Honestly, I'll get into that in the after show, because I think, honestly, we have a show. And we've given the people a tasty thing to chew on. I will say that when it comes to the resistance, now is the time. Magic is to be used against your oppressors, and there's no greater time to start than the present. And with that said, this has been the Ember Report, where resistance is witchy and spells are not optional. I am Lydian, the voice in the flame.
And I'm Len, the witch of the crossroads.
And then this is Jake.
Yeah, and I'm Jake.
Jake, where can people find you?
On Facebook, I have my author page, Jake Richards Author. My website and blog, Holy Stones and Iron Bones.
Which is a great blog, by the way, y'all.
Instagram handle is, what is it? Wayward Sun 13? Appalachian Wayward Sun. I don't know.
It's okay. Listen, we pick those names and then forget about them. That's just how they are. That said, if today's fire stirred something in you, please share it, cast it wide. We're just humble witches at the threshold with you. We don't know what we're doing half the time. Yeah.
If you'd like to linger a little while longer, there's always tea on the stove, a place in the resistance, and room at our table.
We will be carrying this Ember over to Ashes and Sparks, our Patreon after show, for an extended conversation with Jake, and you can find that at patreon.com/The Ember Report, where for as little as $1, you gain access to the after show and our Discord server. Until next time,
may our rage spark resistance.
May our grief become fire.
May our magic be sharp and unrepentant.
The lantern is lit.
You're still out there.
And so are we.